How'd you become a Christian? When did that all go down? What happened?
So this happened actually, it happened 2015. So that would have happened 6 years ago. And I thought like during that time, I didn't believe in God. I didn't know if there was such a thing. I was, it's questionable being grown up in a Greek Orthodox household. We go to church on Friday, on Good Friday, Easter, Christmas, like maybe a Saint's Day, maybe my name day, so I never actually could connect to it. So I never actually understood it. So I just didn't really believe in it. I just thought it was like a traditional thing to do. Until it happened in 2015 when I had a moment when I decided to pray, and like for some reason, this is when I was 19. I remember this happened in October. Okay. When I was 19, so that was 6 years ago. And I decided to pray to God, and I was like, oh, I need an answer for this question I had.
What brought you to do that? Sorry. What brought you down that? Like, what made you just be like, okay, I'm going to pray?
Who knows?
Really?
I always I thought it was my reasoning. I thought to pray, but actually I reckon God just said, pray this moment. Okay. And in that moment, that 1 week, all these supernatural things happened. Like, of course, I could say coincidence, but I believe it wasn't a coincidence. And it brought me to the answer that I wanted or needed. It didn't know that I wanted it, but I just obeyed that answer. And then from that day, that's when, after that answer, I followed through. And then that's actually how I got the vision. Remember how I was talking back downstairs about what to do? I've never had that in my life.
That was about that same time frame.
That same time, around like that time. Yeah. So I knew, like, of course, during the time when you're a baby, like you don't even know, you think it's your own idea. But if I look back, it was definitely not my own idea. It was God's idea. Okay. But yeah, that's my start of my journey. And then when I was in Toronto, so during that time in 2017, that's when I fully gave myself to Christ, when I was at church in Toronto. And I remember that sermon, and I was like,
how'd you find that church? How'd you end up going there?
It's funny. I went to a C3 church in Sydney, okay. And the girls said, there's C3 churches everywhere. You can go to one in Toronto. And I'm like, okay, I'll go. And then I'll check it out. So being there, I decided, I remember, that they said there's a church that you can go to. And then pretty much that's how it happened.
Wow. And then you got saved when you were there. You gave your life to Christ, and
it just went from there. Okay. And then God just did some magic work when I was on my own.
So interesting, because you've come back from Toronto now. Life's completely changed. I'm going to assume your life is completely different to what it was prior. How do your parents take it? How does the family take this change in your life?
Definitely, like, it's confusing to them, because sometimes I could be saying these things and I'm like so excited about something and they're just not getting it, and they're just like not at that level. And then I'm like, and I used to get frustrated at the fact that, why aren't you understanding this? This could actually, like, this is the best thing that you could ever have in your life. Like, if you just want to just at least, put some time to it and actually listen and read and study and all those things, but they never got it. But then I just realized, hey, it's okay that they're doing their thing. Like, maybe this is, they'll have their own timings. But for my dad was the worst, actually, because he's very strong, and he's like, his mum's Greek Orthodox, the family, so when I decided to get baptized only last year, that was something that happened in the house. But it was upsetting that my dad just didn't see the person who I was, like this person who's got her own business, like, successful in the field, helping so many people, is like this bright light to people. But he didn't see that. He only saw the fact that, hey, you're not, sticking by the Greek Orthodox tradition. And that's what hurt. But of course, I've forgiven my dad, and I accept wherever his path is on, and I'm going to still be me. Yeah. and hopefully one day he will just understand. But I'm just gonna,
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, everyone goes through something like that, especially in traditional households. I mean, we were the same way. When we all ended up becoming Christians, the family wasn't on board with it. They didn't understand it. And you can sort of get it because, it's such a different thing to leave the religion that you've grown up in and your whole family's grown up in and all that sort of stuff. But that's the great thing about God, is that he doesn't judge it that way. He just tells you to pray and let him deal with it. So that's
definitely sit still part when we talked at the start.
That's it. See, it just all comes back around. That's how we do things here. We make sure it all connects somehow.
I love this. So good.
So